Good Saturday evening, South Mississippi. Meteorologist Taylor Graham here. As you probably already know, we do not have an early evening newscast tonight, so I wanted to give everyone an update on the weather if you're heading to bed earlier this evening. Good news is at least the weekend weather is still looking so nice. It was another gorgeous day today, and we are already cooling off pretty quickly as far as I can tell. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those current temperatures that we're seeing across the area. It looks like we've already dropped into the 60s on the coast, coming in at 59 over in Bay St. Louis. And while it's still saying the low to mid 70s up into Wiggins and Lucedale, not quite buying it, I would say at this point, just based on surrounding towns. We've already dropped into the 60s. Overnight tonight, cool, crisp, another beautiful fall night. Temperatures eventually dropping into the upper 50s. Early tomorrow morning, and then right around the sunrise tomorrow, many of us are going to be in the low to mid 50s. I wouldn't be shocked if a few upper 40s snuck in, maybe north of I-10. Again, another fantastic fall morning if you're going to be up early. And then by the afternoon, we are looking at plenty of sunshine that will easily warm us up, and the humidity will stay pretty low, and that will help us to warm up quickly. So temperatures tomorrow afternoon peaking mainly in the upper 70s to low 80s. I know we do need some rain around here, but at least for your weekend plans, it's going to be pretty much picture perfect if you ask me. Satellite and radar this evening, nice and quiet. We've got pretty much a crystal clear sky. That's going to give way to more sunshine tomorrow, and we have a huge area of high pressure right over the mid-south and the southeast, giving us that nice clear sky that's ushering in that slightly cooler, drier air. We've got that wind out of the north and east. And while it wasn't too breezy today onshore, I do have to mention that over the water tonight into tomorrow, it's still going to be pretty windy, especially offshore. And that's where we have a small craft advisory in effect. Heads up if you have plans to take the boat out tomorrow. It may be rough at times, especially offshore. Other than that, a gorgeous day to spend some time outside, no matter what you're doing. Maybe you want some sunscreen if you're prone to getting sunburns, because we expect nothing but sunshine tomorrow. But waking up in the morning, we're mainly going to be in the 50s again here in South Mississippi. Quickly heating up into the upper 70s and low 80s tomorrow afternoon, but the humidity will stay fairly low, making it comfortable. And you know what? We are pretty much doing this day in and day out as we head into the work week. Starting off on Monday, back into the low to mid 50s, and we are going to be close to 80 again by Monday afternoon. Maybe a tiny bit cooler for some of us right along the coast in the afternoon, not by much. It's pretty much going to be identical to what we have going as we get into Sunday. Gradually, things will begin to warm up by the middle to end of this upcoming week. Nothing too drastic, but we're looking at highs by Wednesday and Thursday, even into Friday. More so in the mid-80s, which is above average for this time of the year. The humidity is still not going to be too high, so even though it will be warm in the afternoons, it's not going to be uncomfortable. We expect nothing but sunshine. I know, though, we could use some rain around here. The last drought monitor does show us abnormally dry, even showing moderate drought conditions for parts of George and Jackson counties. It does look like that may continue over the next 5 to 7 days, because our rain chances basically are just looking slim to none. And even for Gulfport, so far this month, we've only picked up 0.15 inches of rain. However, our year-to-date rainfall is still a little bit above normal, so that's not why maybe we're seeing as much of an impact from those dry to drought conditions here, a little bit closer to Gulfport and Biloxi. But if your yard is like mine, I live in the Gulfport area, it could use a little rain at this point, but the forecast not calling for much rain. And we are running below average rainfall or normal rainfall for the month of October so far in Gulfport. Moss Point, a little bit of a different story, still seeing a bit of a deficit in the year-to-date rainfall so far. That's why drought conditions are more so prevalent into parts of Jackson County and even up into George County. Haven't seen quite as much rainfall, and the normal or the actual month-to-date rainfall for October so far running far lower than what we normally see during this point in the month. But I also have to mention that it's pretty typical that the month of October for us here in South Mississippi is pretty dry. At least it is giving us some gorgeous weather to enjoy outside. Humidity, dew points stay fairly low heading into the rest of the week. We get a slight bump in our dew points, it looks like, by Tuesday and Wednesday in the low to mid 60s, but at least for our standards in South Mississippi, that's not too bad. And in fact, that may even be a little bit beneficial to some of us that are dealing with maybe some chapped lips or some dry skin. So humidity will be increasing a little bit more by the middle to end of the week. It's not going to be overly muggy, so still feeling pretty comfortable outside, but it's not going to be as dry as what we've seen the past several days. Like I talked about, rainfall forecast this week, hardly anything whatsoever. We are looking at a ridge of high pressure controlling our weather pattern over the next 5 to 7 days, giving us lots of sunshine and that dry weather. So rain is going to be hard to find over the next several days. I know we could use some around here, but if you have any outdoor plans this week, you are good to go. As for the tropics, there are two named systems that we're watching. One of those developed today, Hurricane Oscar. It started off as a tropical storm. Hurricane hunters found that it actually had hurricane force winds near the center. It's a pretty small storm at this point, and it's not going to be impacting the Gulf Coast, but it could be bringing some impacts to parts of Cuba and also the Bahamas over the next few days. It is forecast to curve up into the Atlantic, it looks like, by Tuesday and Wednesday, riding around a ridge of high pressure. Again, Oscar is not going to be a threat for us, but it did strengthen pretty quickly. It looks like it caught even the National Hurricane Center a little bit off guard. I was reading their discussion today. It just developed very quickly. What was Tropical Storm Nadine has now moved into Central America, it looks like just south of Mexico, and it is now considered a depression. The remnants of that will continue to move farther off towards the west. So next name on the list is Patty. Other than those two systems, we don't have much else that we're watching in the tropics at this point. The good news is we are getting into the end of October, which typically we start to see less and less activity. We don't want to let our guard down at this point, but once we get closer to November and throughout the month of November, we usually don't see as much tropical activity, especially in the Gulf of Mexico. That's not a guarantee, but we like the trend, so hopefully this year we won't see as much tropical activity to wrap up hurricane season. But of course, always best to be prepared, at least for the time being. Nothing threatening us here along the U.S. Gulf Coast, nor here in South Mississippi. To be honest, the weather over the next 5 to 7 days looking picture perfect, maybe a little bit warm for some of us for fall afternoons, but temperatures climbing back up into the low to mid 80s. But at least in the mornings, if you're going to be up early, it's still going to be cool, crisp. Our morning lows will gradually warm up just a little bit, just a few degrees back into the low 60s, but that's still really nice. Especially after the brutal summer that we've had this past summer. So I would say the only complaint could be we could use more rain. We just don't have it in the forecast. Otherwise, it's going to be a beautiful week to spend some time outside. So hopefully everybody can enjoy a little bit of that sunshine. If you miss out on one day, you've got plenty of opportunities the next several days. So we will have another update on the forecast coming up tonight at 10 o'clock during our regularly scheduled newscast, whether that be ABC or CBS, depends on the time of when those college football games will end. But hopefully you can enjoy the lovely fall weather this evening. You'll have another chance to enjoy that tomorrow. So for now, I'm going to be signing off.